The endless descent. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button, because stories like this don't just scare you. They follow you. Tonight's investigation begins with a live stream that shook thousands of viewers, a broadcast so strange that many still argue whether it revealed a glitch in reality, or something much darker hiding beneath it. The streamer who didn't come back up. 3 weeks ago, a small creator, known online only as Deep Dive Night, began live-streaming architectural oddities around abandoned buildings. Nothing unusual, nothing paranormal, until one night, the livestream switched to a dimly lit stairwell, and never switched back. The camera pointed downward at a concrete staircase spiraling endlessly below, each step lit by flickering emergency lights that buzzed like angry insects. At the top of the stream, viewers assumed he was exploring an unfinished subway exit or an underground tunnel. But after 10 minutes of descending, the chat began to notice something disturbing. He wasn't getting any closer to the bottom. A staircase that shouldn't exist. The streamer's breathing echoed off the walls, shaky and uneven. You could hear his shoes scraping each step. Clack, clack, clack. Yet the landing, visible far below, never changed size, never drew closer. One viewer wrote, "Bro, you've been walking for 12 minutes. Why is the landing the exact same distance?" Another chimed in, "Lights are flickering in a pattern. Almost like they're following him." And they were right. The lights flickered downward in sequence, as if something unseen was moving beneath him, or waiting. At the 17-minute mark, the staircase itself changed. The handrail, which had been on the right, switched to the left, instantly, mid-step. The streamer froze. This wasn't like this. He turned the camera around. Behind him, the handrail was back on the right side again. Chat exploded. A shadow on the stairs. Around the 22-minute mark, the sound in the stairwell changed. A low, rhythmic dragging echoed from above, like fabric sliding against concrete. The creator whispered, "There's someone up there." He pointed the camera upward. For one fraction of a second, viewers saw it. A tall figure in a black cloak, face hidden beneath a hood, standing motionless on the stairway above him. The figure didn't walk. It didn't even sway. It simply appeared, too still to be human. Then the lights flickered again. When the staircase brightened, the figure had moved 5 steps closer. But no footsteps were heard. The loop that wasn't a loop. Skeptics suggested the livestream was a loop, until a viewer noticed something no loop could replicate. The streamer's shadow changed shape. Sometimes it stretched sideways. Sometimes it looked like a second shadow split off beside him. Once, it appeared as though something behind him reached for his shoulder. At the 31-minute mark, he stopped walking entirely. He whispered, I hear breathing. It's not mine." His camera shook violently as he began descending faster, almost stumbling down the steps. The chat turned into a panic. "Run! It's behind you! It's moving again, turn around." But he didn't. He kept going down. And still, the bottom never came any closer. The final moment. The last minute of the stream is the part viewers still argue about. The streamer whispered, "I can't tell if I'm going down, or if the stairs are moving up." Then the emergency lights flickered wildly and shut off. Complete darkness engulfed the screen. You could hear only his breath, fast, trembling, until a second set of breaths grew louder behind him. The final frame appeared after nearly 15 seconds of silence. A single, pale hand sliding across the wall behind him. And then the livestream ended. No signal, no sound. The account has not posted since. The haunted classroom below. Whispers from Mazatlan. A week after the endless staircase livestream vanished from the internet, another clip began circulating, this time from Mazatlan, Mexico, a coastal town known for old schools abandoned after hurricanes swept through years ago. Locals whispered that one particular school, Escuela Santa Marta, had a sealed basement rumored to contain a hidden classroom used for disciplinary confinement decades ago. No one knew exactly what happened down there. No one wanted to. But one young explorer, known online as Luis Urbex, did. He had heard the stories of desks that scraped across the floor at night, of soft voices calling from the basement, of chalkboards scribbling messages long after the school closed. For most people, these were just scary legends. For Luis, they were an invitation. A school frozen in time. He arrived just after sunset, climbing through a broken window frame into a classroom filled with dust so thick it muffled his footstep. Old textbooks lay scattered across the floor, pages fluttering as if reacting to a breeze, even though every window was sealed. Luis whispered to his camera, "If anyone is here, just don't touch me." His voice trembled. He walked slowly into the hallway. Blue moonlight seeped through the narrow slits in the ceiling, giving the entire corridor a cold, sterile glow, almost like the aftermath of a storm. As he advanced, the sound of something tapping echoed ahead. Tap, tap, tap. He froze. The tapping didn't repeat. It responded, matching his every step. For every one of his footfalls, the tapping gave an answer. The hidden door. At the end of the hallway, he discovered a rusted metal hatch sunken into the floor. Locals had said this door had been sealed for over 20 years, yet the edges were clean, as if someone had opened it recently. Luis steadied his camera, breathed deeply, and pulled. The hatch opened effortlessly. A cold draft blasted upward, carrying the scent of damp concrete and something he later described as old, moist chalk. He pointed his camera downward. A staircase, narrow, steep, and lit by a faint blue glow, spiraled into darkness. The classroom that shouldn't exist. As Luis reached the bottom, the air felt heavier, pressing against his skin like unseen hands. His flashlight flickered, once, twice, and stabilized. The basement classroom stretched out before him. Rows of small wooden desks, all facing a cracked chalkboard covered in faint white markings he couldn't identify. He stepped inside. Immediately something moved. Creak. A desk in the front row shifted, just an inch, but enough to freeze his blood. Luis whispered, "Hello?" Silence. Then he noticed something else. Every desk had a nameplate carved into the wood. Some were scratched out. Others were intact. But one made him step backward. A nameplate with freshly carved letters, the wood still pale. Luis. His breath caught. He had never been here. No one knew he was coming. The moment everything changed. Suddenly, bang, a chair slammed backward against the floor. Then another. Then another. The desks began to move in chaotic, unnatural patterns, some sliding, others twitching as if pushing themselves forward. The sound echoed violently in the small underground room. Luis spun around, trying to find the exit, but the faint blue glow illuminating the doorway was fading. His flashlight flickered and died. The screen went black for 2 seconds. When it came back on, someone or something was standing at the chalkboard. A small silhouette, motionless, facing away from the camera. Luis whispered, "No, no, no, no." The figure's head turned slowly, too slowly for a living human, and Luis dropped the camera. The video ended with the sound of his rapid footsteps echoing up the staircase, followed by a final, chilling sound. A child's voice murmuring, "You're late, Luis." What happened after? The clip was uploaded only once before the account vanished. Local officials searched the school the following morning but found no footprints, no recent disturbance, and no basement classroom at all. The hatch Luis opened? It wasn't there anymore. The vanishing echoes. The aftermath of Luis' discovery. Luis' video spread through the internet like wildfire, but within 48 hours every re-upload was taken down. No copyright strike. No request. Just remove. Those who managed to save the clip before it vanished noticed something Luis himself likely never realized. In the final seconds, right before he dropped his camera, there were faint reflections on the chalkboard. A classroom full of children sitting in the desks, even though the room was empty. Or supposedly empty. This triggered a wave of online investigators who were determined to find Luis or at least uncover what happened to the school's hidden basement. But they discovered something stranger than the video itself. The entire school had been demolished 3 months before Luis filmed his clip. Yet in his footage, the building was still fully intact. The search for Luis. A small team of urban explorers, 3 friends known online as the Night Lens, became obsessed with finding answers. They traveled to Mazatlan, expecting to find ruins. Instead, they found nothing. The ground where the school once stood had been cleared and replaced by a metal construction fence. A single wooden sign was attached to the fencing. Prohibito entrar, order of the municipality. Do not enter, by order of the municipality. Behind the fence was a flattened patch of dirt. No rubble. No foundation. No debris. It was as if the school had been removed, piece by piece, by someone who didn't want anything left behind. Still, the team set up their equipment to scan for underground cavities. If the basement classroom had truly existed, something should remain beneath the soil. Their scanner beeped. A hollow chamber directly beneath their feet. The explorers exchanged looks, their expressions changing from excitement to dread. The descent. An opening was found on the far side of the property, an exposed ventilation grate that led into a narrow maintenance shaft. Against their better judgment, they climbed inside. The shaft descended sharply before turning into a cramped corridor. The deeper they traveled, the colder the air became, and a low hum vibrated through the walls. Finally, they reached a rusted metal door. On the door was a carved message, crude but fresh. Be quiet. One of them whispered. Did Luis carve this? Another replied. Or someone who didn't want to be heard. They pushed the door open. The room that shouldn't exist. The underground space was identical to Luis' basement classroom. Same chairs. Same desk. Same cracked chalkboard. Except this time, the desks weren't empty. Sitting at each desk were faint, blue-tinted silhouettes shaped like children. Their outlines flickered like old film reels, and their heads all turned toward the explorers at the same unnatural angle. One silhouette pointed at the chalkboard. The chalk began writing by itself. You saw Luis? The explorers froze. Another sentence appeared beneath it. He stayed. A cold shock passed through all 3 of them. One whispered, We need to leave. Now. But before they could move, the classroom door slammed shut behind them. The children speak. The blue silhouettes began rising from their seats, slowly, silently, floating inches above the floor. Their outlines shimmered as if submerged underwater. One approached the chalkboard, lifted a translucent hand, and wrote, Help US. Another wrote beneath it, Or join US. That was enough. The explorers rushed to the back door, slamming their shoulders against it. Finally, it gave way, opening into darkness. Not a hallway. Not a tunnel. Just darkness. One of the explorers whispered, This isn't where we came from. Behind them, the silhouettes began whispering in unison, their voices overlapping like static from a broken radio. Then the chalkboard wrote one final sentence, violently, as if carved by force. No escape from below. The ending nobody understands. When rescuers later responded to a missing persons report filed by the explorers' families, they found the construction site abandoned. The ventilation shaft? Gone. The underground cavity detected by scanners? Now solid earth. No tunnels. No chamber. No basement. Just an empty lot of dirt and silence. But the rescuers did find something disturbing. A single chalkboard, half buried in the ground. On it was one sentence. He stayed. The same message written in Luis' footage. To this day, no one knows what became of him, or the explorers who dared to follow.